All right, Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This has been a long time coming. I got to do work, and I've been having to get out, and work. And, the blessed part, about doing that is that, I done met the fruit Hebrews out, in the field doing my work, and some of them, man, I pray that their ears is open and that they starting to understand a little bit of what's going on. I'm always working. I'm always working for the Israelite community. I'm always doing work. All right, check this out, Hebrews. Man, it's evil. Man, it's the most evilest thing in the Israelite community that's destroying us, that's easy to understand, and how Israelites are constantly being manipulated and deceived. Oh man, it's awful because it's simple history. All praise be Almighty Yah, that the Israelite Brotherhood family and those that's been listening to me and understanding the history that I've been putting down for the Israelite community understand that it never was any 10 lost tribes, and that those are myths our enemies created. Well, you got Israelite groups, and I done reached out to them. I'm constantly reaching out to them, and I'm always pushing this and showing that there's no 10 lost tribes. But man, I need help of the Israelite community. I can't do it by myself. I can't do it all by myself. All I can do is show you the way. Man, I done pointed out the way, what happened to us, and why we all messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like we are. But I need you Israelites' help in destroying the 10 lost tribe myth, because man, it is crippling us. Man, it got us shackled. Because you got Israelites blind and can't see, and they don't understand, what happened in the past. And then they got this misconception that people are Israelites that are not Israelites. We don't even share the same punishment. We don't even share the same atrocities, even though our atrocities were done by a common enemy. Our atrocities was done by a common enemy, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And Israelites don't understand tonight history if you constantly in the New Testament. And man, that's the foundation of the Israelites being deceived on the 10 lost tribe. That old hocus pocus mess is that the New Testament back a lost tribes doctrine, and how Jesus supposed to been sent to the lost tribes only. But guess what? That's messed up, because if you understand Tanakh history and what happened during the Assyrian and Babylonian wars, as well as our association with Egypt, which I outlined thoroughly. But if you understand what happened during the Assyrian times and the Babylonian times, then you'll understand that, man, a lot of people moved into the promised land, and that after we left, they stayed there. And that how Jesus, from these people staying in the promised land from 722 BC all the way down to Jesus was born, and then they was never driven out, then Jesus gonna think that they was Israelites. He gonna think that they was Israelites, and he's not gonna know what went on. And this, the startling thing is that a lot of Israelites is under the conception that Jesus was what they call a black man. Men from reading certain verses in the Revelations and not knowing that Edomites had some degree of pigmentation. Some of the Edomite tribes, you know what I'm saying? Some of Edom's sons went into Hamites, man, and had kids that would have pigmentation, but they would still be, Edomites. And Israelites don't know that during the New Testament era, I have proven over and over how 12 nations moved into the promised land. Man, way before then, a whole bunch of nations moved into the promised land after we Israelites were kicked out. See, Israelites don't understand real Israelite history, and they think it's a fairy tale or something not real. But I prove over and over that history bear witness that what Yah said he would do after the covenant was broken come to pass. They have Assyrian records. They have Babylonian records where those people associated with the Israelites. And then, man, the Egyptians, oh man, people say, well, why come we can't find nothing about Israel in Egypt? Man, it's a whole lot of factors dealing with that. First of all, man, the whole northern kingdom was on Egyptian religion. So, when we, associated with the Egyptians, you ain't gonna be able to, tell, because we was just like them, doing the same thing that they was doing and functioning like they was doing, because we did they worship. If you do our ethnic or cultural groups religion, then you're gonna do their ethnic, tradition, their clothing and all other kind of stuff. You're gonna function like them because you doing a religion. Well, and that's how the northern kingdom was. But this is what I'm trying to explain, that during Jesus' time, that how when he had went to Egypt, how man, a lot of nations had been through Egypt. Man, the Assyrians took it over. Man, the Babylonians, the Persians, and then finally the Greeks. Man, and there's a group of people that moved into the promised land in 722 BC that started claiming the Israelite heritage. They had already got into the temple. They was Amorites. I explained this over and over and over. That's why you Israelites got to come to the Israelite Brotherhood. You got to come to the Israelite Brotherhood, because if you in them camps and you listening to the camp's doctrine, you gonna perish. You gonna perish. Your seed gonna perish. When Almighty Yah said forever in that you gonna perish forever, man, that's gonna be the vast majority of the Israelites that believe in demigod worship and is believing in them camp doctrines and following them camp leaders and so forth. And they got a big following. But you got a lot of Israelites that got to perish. They can't go back to the promised land with the false worship, and how they are the seed of their foreparents that rebelled against the creator, that went into Egypt to worship the Egyptian religion, and how that they doing a knockoff version of it called Christianity under the disguise of a Israelite connection. Them people don't even fully connect themselves to the Israelite tribes. The camps don't. And then how did they try to say that everybody is an Israelite? That's one of the reasons why those groups, man, are able to flourish and prosper and expand, is because that they are off track, and the enemies supporting and helping them underneath, because you couldn't get nowhere. Man, it's hard for the Israelite Brotherhood, man, to get any kind of play anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Because they know this is the truth. What I'm showing, it's a blessing by Almighty Yah that, some Israelites do hear and understand what's going on. I believe a plan gonna formulate, you know what I'm saying, from what I'm doing for the Israelite community. All right, but those Israelite leaders, I ain't even got to point them all out. They know who they are. And then this what happened, man, that set me off, is how I done did a few videos, man, about how, you know what I'm saying, to believe in that camp doctrine. Man, the name of this video I did in 2018, the Israelites still holding on to lies, and I done showed over and over in simple history how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So if it wasn't never ever any 10 lost tribes, then the camp's doctrines is lies and easy to be seen. Hebrew Israelite camps teach lies you can see. Don't be a fool. It's amazing how 22 people disagreed with me, and then I'm gonna do this video over because this video was only done for like 20 minutes, man. I had a phone, man, that didn't record long. I ain't know when it was gonna cut off. And in Hebrews, I happened to be looking, man, at the little, studio, see what's going on. Because like I said, I be working, man, and I apologize to some of the Hebrews that done communicated with me, man, on the email. And I've been so busy, man, that I just come in and lay it down after I do my little work. You know what I'm saying? It's rough. I'm barely making it. But, my little work, man, I just come in, man, and lay it down. But now I'm starting to get order, and now I'm back to, men communicating and so forth. But, shalom to everybody. But, man, it's got to come to an end, man, and I need you Israelites' help. And I'm going to explain it over. Real simple how it wasn't any 10 lost tribes. So these groups that's pushing that, and I just stumbled up on one early today, what set me off. And then some Israelites, did they be watching, trying to learn. Hebrew Israelites teach lies that you can see. This is like one of the 8th or 9th video that the Israelite, men community be watching. You know what I'm saying? So I need to address this again. All right, that's gonna be the 7th video, and then this is what I stumbled up on, and then this is new. This is new right here. This was done longer than 6 hours ago. I just paused it then, you know what I'm saying, when I had stumbled across it, you know what I'm saying. I come in a little early, the rain and so forth, and man, I happened to just be looking around because I'm, finna start, communicating, and then I stumbled up on this. Look, the natives hour, home of the 10 tribes. Now this guy promote just that same organization, man, with this dude right here. He's the leader. You know what I'm saying? He's the leader of them. Now, one time I got to talking, man, about him and said how he ain't no leader. He must have failed it, and he know who I am. Look, man, he got all kind of social media accounts, and he'll get my man on a broadcast, with a whole bunch of folks, but he ain't finna get nowhere near Facebook, meaning communicate, you know what I'm saying? And I'm on Facebook with a whole lot of folks, and I communicate with a whole lot of Israelites behind the scene, as well as other people's, you know what I'm saying, behind the scene, and how he can't be found nowhere, because he know that if he get on Facebook, that his members gonna be there, and if people get to posting some truth and some history that he ain't, know about, or that he know about but trying to keep hid and so forth, that he gonna be exposed and so forth. So cats like this, they'll post Instagram, something you could just hit a little through lines and get on down and stuff, but when it come down to seriously debating our heritage and our history, some of them cats don't really want no part of it, because they already on record for having this version. They don't want to confess, come out and say, hey, members, I'm wrong, and I told a lie, and I'm misleading y'all. I was fooled by Jewish history, but now I'm woke. And then explain that it wasn't no 10 law tribes, and then show the Israelite the correct way, how we abandoned the covenant and went into Africa, Egypt, Sahara for Egyptian religion, and how we always had an association with Egypt, and how Almighty Yah even knew we would return to Egypt, and how Ephraim was like the leaders of the northern kingdom. It wasn't no 10 individual tribes functioning on their own, and how did they follow the tribe of Ephraim, and how Ephraim had more leaders doing our breakup and disunion with Yah worship, and how did they, it was a few other tribes, members, and then how that the northern kingdom was ran by Ephraim. And man, I can even go to some verses. How Almighty Yah know we would return to Egypt, and then how it come to pass during the Babylonian wars, but how we always had an association with the Egyptians. We always had an association with the Egyptians, and it's amazing how these individuals, he called himself a bishop. We're gonna look up that meaning too, meaning how that's supposed to be, how he the leader of his organization that he found. He's a bishop, and he set the tone and what's right, and the members have to follow it. Well, he's out milking a large man community and peoples of different ethnic groups, because he, got them down as Israelites and so forth. Oh man, the list go on. Man, if these folks believe this stuff, man, he can come milk them. He can come milk them, and then that's what's been happening. You know what I'm saying? Hell, the folks from the West Indies that ain't real Israelites, man, they gon', flock to them. You know what I'm saying? The Guatemalans, man, the Native American Indians, man, you see some of them posting, they happy. They happy because, we know the clove culture and the gathering hunter culture had nothing to do with domesticating animals, searching for minerals, rubies, diamonds, and man, amhite, all kind of stones and so forth, and how the natives didn't have none of that culture, not none of them, and how that they didn't have the wheel, they didn't domesticate no animals but a wolf puppy, and then I'm not knocking the natives, I'm just telling you that how they didn't have no houses with 2 stories with roofs with windows and so forth, and how that they done flock and flee to this dude here and his group, as well as the other camps, teaching them lies about how the Native Americans and Argentinians and the people that wasn't on the slave ships, and how he claimed that they are Israelites. Man, that's a lot of people to milk. That's a lot of people to milk, and he been doing it, and this is dooming Israelites because they following his leadership, and then they not seeing no truth. And then when you do show truth, man, he hide behind the Jesus stuff, man, behind the Yawashi. Jesus is black, and then we got to wait on him to come say, and they just throw the Israelites all off, and they ain't believing in nothing you say. But oh man, it's got to come to an end, man. It's got to come to an end. It's got to come to an end. He looked at the Ugarians, the Aztecs. Look, the Aztecs, and oh man, it's awful. And then I could show how these tribes, Usher, Ishkar, and Naphtali, was around during the after the Assyrian so-called captivity. The Assyrian so-called captivity is what supposedly led these peoples, to believe that they was Israelites, because they say that the Israelites was taken to these strange lands. And I be telling you Israelites that, man, y'all be picking up them books. Man, this book right here, man, this man will tell you, man, I've been listening to him, and they real dirty. You know what I'm saying? They real dirty, this guy right here. You know what I'm saying? Revisiting the Apocryphal books. Man, if you touch them books, man, they gonna set your brain on fire. Them the Jewish scribe books. The Jewish scribes, the Sebhardists that come from Babylon, that was placed in our land in 722 from Supper. And I explained to you Israelites, you know what I'm saying, about Supper, and how the whole American system, even down to the naming of streets and how it functioned, is identical to what was in Supper. And this what make this the daughter of Babylon, because the Amorite ancient families came here after being expelled from the promised land by proxy, by Ashkenazi, through the Roman, you know what I'm saying, the Roman little thing when they chased the Sebhardists, men across North Africa. Chased them across North Africa by way of Egypt all the way over into Spain and Portugal. They old ancient Phoenician Amorite hangout. They did how that the ancient noble families from these little areas right here from the Randanites and so forth doing trade. You know what I'm saying? Doing trade. Look, crisscross the whole land now. You know, doing trade all up in there. You know what I'm saying? And then how that they would go over to the Americas and then founded it. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, if you ever see the natives and the Hispanics and the Arabs, they all look alike and they all men of kin. And then those gonna be because they are Canaanites. And I explained their connection and how the Canaanites were were expelled and went abroad, after Noah days and so forth, and the families spread out, and then how did they come across the Bering Strait, and it's proven that the clothing culture over all down into the Americas, but how that they was like sub-kindred to the Amorites, and then when the Amorites come over, even though the Amorites was vicious, and I believe it's the Amorites that had the Hamite like bloodstream, mixed in with the natives, and then got their land and so forth, and then we know Ashkenazi and the Sephardics been fighting over the Israelite heritage since we abandoned it. Since we abandoned our heritage, they've been fighting over our heritage. Ashkenazi is called Scythian in history, and the Sephardians are the Sephardics. Those are the people from Sippar, and they been in our heritage since 722 BC, when the Assyrians placed them there. You know, Assyria was ran by Amorites too and so forth. But anyway, them folks end up in our land, and they was Amorites already. And then how did they got into our heritage? By the Nethinims, and then them Amorites that we didn't destroy in Joshua days, when we come out of Egypt, they blended in with them, and we had made them stewarders and workers of the temple or whatever congregation we had. They were slaves to it, so they was already in our heritage, sitting and waiting on us, to make a mistake. You see what I'm saying? But I'm finna get into that 10 lost tribes, how it's important that we Israelites crack down on it and start putting our foot down, saying that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, because that 10 lost tribe doctrine is messing us up. And then, like I say, that Jesus dude said that he was going for the 10 lost tribes. So that kind of, would go over into the Christian doctrine. Then I was talking about that Jesus dude, how Israelites is so messed up about the New Testament doctrine, but because of these popular books and all kind of misinformation the Babylonian scribes cooked up, to throw at the world, to create a false trail on Israelite history. If they created a false trail, soon as they got control of the Israelite heritage and history, and then just start putting out books and false history left and right. They was already writers of the Babylonian gods history, for thousands of years, before we was an Israelite nation, way before Prophet Abraham had to flee Mesopotamia because of the gods that they kept up their history. That's like the people wouldn't know, about them gods, and them gods will fade out if somebody didn't write down its history and keep its history documented. Well, that's where them peoples came in and played a part. Well, them the same people that set America up. These the same people that set America up, that fled Spain and went to the Americas in 70 AD. You know what I'm saying? And then, like I say, that Ashkenazi and them been fighting over our heritage. Ashkenazi come in with the Scythians. It's kind of, you can see why Ashkenazi is in the promised land, because Ashkenazi, was told to get us up off the land and to get us up out of there. And they did thoroughly. You know what I'm saying? They cleansed the land during the Babylonian wars, when we was driven out at 99%. And then I could show how that little 1% or less, a tenth that was captured and took into Babylon, that when they come back, they was destroyed immediately. Immediately. By the time Greek time come in, men before Greek time come in, they was plucking them off the exiles that come back from Babylon, because they started mixing, and we couldn't pass heritage over to the enemies, and then it couldn't be two covenants, one broken and one not broken. And then this is where I'm finna show that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, because if all the tribes and everybody went into Africa, then we should have one common punishment. One common punishment. As you see, the people from the transatlantic slave trade history is identical to the curses. Whereas the other peoples that went around the world, and supposedly Israelites went around the world, mean that you don't see no curses on them that would, meet the standards of Tanakh history. So something ain't right. Something ain't right. And then what ain't right is that them folks ain't Israelites. And then look, man, I'm finna get into it, Israelites, but I want y'all to hear this devil, how he know we went in. So see, I'm gonna call you a devil if you tell a lie. You's a devil. You know what I'm saying? And then how this guy know that the Israelites went into Egypt, but they'll hurry up and brush over that and won't say nothing else about it, because they know that we disappeared off the annals of history and had curses coming to us. Listen.
Mesopotamia and of Egypt, which are always going to be the bigger powers on either side of you that try to fight over it. And so as a result of that, there is always kind of essentially they're also influencing you culturally. And so when that destruction happened, we had exile groups that went both places. So we always think of the Babylonian captivity, but lots and lots of other Judeans fled into Egypt, including the prophet Jeremiah.
All right, look,
and even in Egypt,
that's false. All right, that's true, but that's deceptive, because Almighty Yah wasn't working or talking through the other tribes no more. It was no more leaders in the other tribes, and how everybody had fled to Judah, men inheritance during the Babylonian wars. We was driven. We was driven going west. You know what I'm saying? And how all our enemies was coming from the east and from the north. Just like Almighty Yah told Prophet Jeremiah when Jeremiah first started his mission. But how everybody was driven into Africa. And then Almighty Yah even acknowledged how the tribe of Ephraim, who is basically the ruler of the northern kingdom, the northern tribes, you know what I'm saying, they the most active. And then how all the active peoples basically from the tribe of Ephraim, and how that, you know what I'm saying, they had an association with Egypt, and then went to Egypt. And then how Almighty Yah kept saying this even in 753 BC. This got to be what, 31 years or something like that, 21 years, 31 years or something, man, before the so-called Assyrian captivity. How Almighty Yah even said that the Israelites, man, will go back into Egypt. This is what the whole book of Hosea is about. Man, the Israelites going back into Egypt, and you know what I'm saying, and how Almighty Yah was against the Israelites, men associating with Egypt. Let me find some of them scriptures. There's plenty of them. Look. They shall not dwell in the Elohim's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. And that happened, that happened. And that was happening. They was eating unclean things in Assyria because the tribe of Ephraim was on Egyptian religion. Just all of them, you know what I'm saying, all the leaders and all the way down. They the tribe of Ephraim basically gonna be the reason why we was driven out the land and lost the covenant, because they had, a strong association with the Egyptians, but then it could be kind of understood because the tribe of Ephraim were somewhat Egyptians, being that Ephraim mama Asenath was an Egyptian, and then their granddaddy, the priest of On, was a Mishwish, like a Ma, the Mishwish, Ma tribes. He was a priest, man. Them the founders of the Egyptian dynasties, and then how did they worship the fallen angelic beings and stuff that the Egyptians men associated with the Hamites. And Japhet and them kids would do the same. But look here, man. You know, the Israelites always was said that they'll go to Egypt. Look, they sacrifice flesh. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings and eat it, but the Elohim accept them not. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened. That's what happened during the Babylonian Wars. You know, all the Israelites ran into Africa, but the tribe of Judah, who Almighty Yah was working with, the tribe of David, because of his promise to King David long ago, is why the tribe of Judah's leaders and so forth are mentioned and so forth, because the tribe of Judah held on the longest, else we would have been destroyed long time ago with Rehoboam. But Almighty Yah made a promise to King David, and Almighty Yah keep his promise. That's like how we was all driven out into slavery and messed up like we are. And then, you know, but Almighty Yah kept his promise to King David, and then that's why come his descendants stayed on the throne so long, and them was the last of them that we was dealing with during the Babylonian Wars. And but all the Israelites were there. You know what I'm saying? All the tribes were still home. And it's easy to understand this. You know, I need you Israelites help in explaining. This. It's simple. All the Israelites were home after the Assyrian captivity, and this is the foundation for the 10 lost tribe myth. So if we bust the foundation up, the foundation busted up. The Israelite Brotherhood been busted up, the 10 lost tribe foundation. All right? If we bust up that foundation, then they can't stand on that no more. They can't stand on that no more. That ain't nothing to stand on. So I'm going to need you Israelites help. Now, we know that after the so-called Assyrian captivity, that there's this king called King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah now this is King Hezekiah. It's no way to escape this. No way to escape this. Man, I'm so frustrated that I got to keep going over this 10 lost tribe thing, and that we could be talking about a whole lot of other stuff, but I can't let this pass because this is easy for the Israelites to understand. It's the most easiest thing to understand is that it never was any 10 lost tribe. Look, King Hezekiah, look, he's number 13. Look, ironic, man, that they would have him 13, but look, number 13, look. Well, I guess they, you know what I'm saying, they fall in that line, but look, 716 to 687 BC. And then the reason he was having trouble with the Assyrians is because he doing Almighty Yah's worship, and them Assyrians slick want to come by and reunite with the Egyptians. The Assyrians were finna get took down through there. And then this is what the camps don't take into consideration is when was the Assyrians destroyed. Man, I'm going to type in when did Assyria take over Egypt, but I think it was 697 BC or something, you know what I'm saying? But they kept trying to come through the land. They kept trying to come through the land and hook up with the Egyptians, and they finally did. And that's where Necho is going to be the one that killed King Hezekiah's great-grandson, King Josiah, the prophecy king that was supposed to get rid of the Egyptian religion. Now, the Egyptian religion is a big old institution. It ain't just in Egypt. The gods and so forth are parallel with the Babylonian gods. And we know that the Babylonian gods was like the center for all false worship. You know what I'm saying? All false worship, men and so forth. Man, that's why them folks had them zaggurats all down in the places, cause the fallen angelic beings, them big old monuments with the natives and so forth. You know, the fallen angelic beings and then got up in them. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, they had them up in North America, the Zagreus, the same that was in Babylon, to show their connection to the fallen angelic beings. And then they got snake worship and stuff all on their monuments and part of their culture, same as them folks, the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians. But how that the Assyrians would kill no, not the Syrians, the Egyptians would kill King Josiah, and they would have an Assyrian men connection, you know. And then I explained how the Egyptians basically had to keep us destroyed, because if they didn't destroy us or keep us off Yah worship, then, you know, they couldn't come across the promised land. No coming across the promised land doing, you know, while we doing the covenant. And then that's why King Hezekiah was like a target for the Assyrians. Now, this whole Assyrian captivity and how our enemies explain the history as false. As you can see, you know, they say that the Assyrians were our mortal enemies, but if you look at Hosea 12, Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind, and he daily increases lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. See, they ain't gonna tell you, you know what I'm saying, man, the truth about the Assyrian captivity, but I explained how the Assyrians, man, were pigmented people that were starting to get mixed, and how Assyria was a popping nation and had it going on, and then they let the peoples from Turkey and underground and the Scythians and all them start hanging out, getting the education. And then I explained how Ashkenazi, under the name Scythian, wrestled Chaldea from the Assyrians and the Babylonians, and then started to get an education and so forth, and then would start taking over empires. But how the Assyrian empire power come from the peoples from Africa, Put, Libya, and Egypt were its helpers and so forth, as well as us Israelites, and how our enemies been telling a lie, man, about the Assyrian history, period. You know, the whole Western culture history is a lie, because it's built upon, you know, trying to deceive the peoples about who the real Israelite is. So this false history go all the way back to basically after the Persians were defeated, then our history fell into our enemy's hand, and then they had false history from then on out, and then they put out a lot of false history to try to cover up what happened, what truly happened, and how that we played a part with the, you know what I'm saying, Assyrian Empire and so forth. All right, Israelites, but you see how King Hezekiah is, you know, man, is around in 716 to 687 BC, and then how that the Israelite tribes was still at home, and that how that the so-called Assyrian captivity happened in 722 BC, the fall of Samaria to Assyria. And then all it boils down is that the promised land had to be destroyed and uprooted, basically starting with the northern kingdom, because they couldn't do Egyptian worship on the promised land, and then how that they had the northern kingdom army was Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, and how that they was protecting the Egyptian religion on the promised land, and Almighty Yah sent the Assyrians in there to bust them up and take them away, and then that would cause the whole collapse of the northern kingdom, and then everybody would run to Judah and start to go into Africa. Remember, Ephraim already had an association with the Egyptians, and then Almighty Yah said that they would return to Egypt, as I have read, you know what I'm saying, in the verses, and I can read it again. Then if I got to, let me find another one. All right. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings and eat it, but you know what I'm saying, they using Almighty Yah's sacrifices in places, you know what I'm saying, and then but it's really some Egyptian worship and eat it, but the Elohim accept them not. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. And then we're going to look up that word iniquity, because it's real important to understand that word iniquity. And I'm going to go into that word iniquity when I'm explaining how we as Israelites been a stiff-necked people, and how Almighty Yah say he'll punish us to the fourth and fifth generations with iniquity. And iniquity is violence, dishonesty, and man, pure mayhem getting passed down from generation to generation. And then how we trying to bring that to an end. When we trying to bring iniquity to an end, and iniquity is basically just the wickedness just being handed down generation to generation. We're going to go into that. But let me get into this 10 lost tribe stuff. This 10 lost tribe mess. Now we know King Hezekiah is in 716 BC, and if you go to 2 Chronicles chapter 30, now if you people in the camps and you listening to this and you listening to me, you know I got you right. You know I got you right. You know, man, I got you right, and I got your leader right, and then how it never was any 10 lost tribes. So therefore, you got to evaluate all the other doctrines that the bishop been laying on you. And we're going to see what the title bishop means. Matter of fact, let's see what bishop mean now. You know what I'm saying? We see him now, we're going to look and see what bishop mean. Look, bishop. Well, what does a bishop mean in English? And we going by English word. Look. One having spiritual or ecclesiastical supervision, such as an angelic, mean number church, what they doing, of Eastern Orthodox or Roman Catholic clergymen, ranking above a priest, having authority to ordain and confirm, and typically governing a diocese. So it's like he the you know, he the bishop, and he point folks, and you know they got the Christian doctrine, and they spreading Christianity under Israelite identity and stuff, and that's, you know, that'll bring Israelites in, because they already know deep inside that they Israelites, and then hear this person coming with some Christianity saying that you are Israelites. That's gonna trip Israelites up, and they gonna stumble. And that's what's been happening. And then that's why this dude able to go all around the world recruiting folks, and you know, having a good time, you know, building his bank up, like this one dude right here. This dude here that I made the video called himself a king. You know what I'm saying? But because them Gunyans, you know, and accepted his donation and let him adopt a village, be the king of it, you know, and how he done come over to the Americas and tricking the Israelites, talking about he a real king, and don't even know history, and believe in Holy Ghosts and all of those stuff. You know, it's awful. Man, it's awful what we Israelites got to go through, you know, waking up, but, you know, it's our punishment for disobeying the Creator and running to the Egyptian religion. But, all right, now, we see, and then look, we seen what the bishop is, but he's a Pan-Africanist, too, you know, that Nathaniel dude, Pan-Africanist, the idea that peoples of African descent have common interests and should be united. Man, that's messed up that he not pushing a total 100% Israelite ideology. You see, look, this is his page. He responsible for this. You know what I'm saying? He got a lot of followers. Look, missionary, Pan-Africanist, and world activist. See, long as he misleading the Israelites, and allowing the people under his rule to be misled, then the enemy is going to help him. They is going to help him, and that's why come he got all this activities going on outside the country and memberships everywhere. Everybody flocking. Everybody come. One time I was watching men on Facebook. They was doing a little donation drive and how, man, they got up to 100,000. Man, I'm showing the complete truth to the whole Israelite community. Man, and they ain't getting nobody to do nothing for me. What's the Israelite here or there? You know what I'm saying? They know who they are. But, man, that's how it is. That's how it's always been with us. It always been with us how we'll flock to bull crap and follow up behind bull crap, and then when the truth is there, and then you see it how you'll turn your back on it. But guess what? People like that finna perish. They finna perish, and how Almighty Yah word is gonna come to pass that if you don't worship him alone, you and your seed gonna perish. You can never go back to the promised land. He can't. Look, you see, he ain't talking about going to the promised land. He ain't talking about going to the promised land, and he got enough money to buy some land in the promised land and move there, him and his members. Is he gonna do that? No, he ain't gonna do that because he working with the enemies. He working with the enemies, and it's time you Israelites wake up. You know what I'm talking about? I know it hurt. You know, this your leader, and you believe in him, but I'm showing that your leader is false. I'm showing that your leader is false, and he's not telling the truth. He's not telling the truth. It's time for us Israelites to wake up. We got to wake up, man. We can't keep being misled and stuff, man, on our heritage. Man, we can't keep on being misled, man, on our heritage. And that 10 lost tribe thing, man, is one of their main things. Let me let y'all listen so y'all know we ain't just picking on these folks. Listen to him. It's off. It's off.
All of these were unbeknownst to the so-called Native American Indians. Was unbeknownst to everybody. That's that crafty counsel. Read on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against God's people who are the Israelites, the so-called Native American Indians.
Look, the
so-called Hispanics.
Look,
y'all,
man, y'all heard that? That's awful. They ain't come over on no slave ships now. If they done mixed with us since we've been here in captivity, they got a claim. But other than that, it's zero chance of them folks being Israelites. It's awful how he said that, and then this day and time.
And
Listen.
enemies make a tumult.
Go ahead.
And they that hate thee.
They that hate God, read.
Have lift up the head.
Go ahead.
Look, they'll use the Tanakh. They'll use the Tanakh to support they false ideology, but they won't follow the Tanakh history where the Israelites ran into Africa in the Babylonian wars and never come back out. They don't want no parts of that, and how that they misleading Israelites, and how the bishop is behind it, because he not going to let his members preach the doctrine. That's why I'm real careful about the Israelite Brotherhood, and everybody you know what I'm saying, claim to be an Israelite Brotherhood, because I'm real selective about his members. You got to know the history, man. You got to know this common, simple history. But whereas he's behind this because he is the leader, as I just showed you what a bishop mean, and then how he is the leader. So he behind this. He behind them with this falsehood.
They have taken crafty counsel.
That crafty counsel. You gotta set them. When bills and laws are made, they had to come and they had to talk about it, counsel it, put it on the table, agree to it, change things, and all of these were unbeknownst to the so-called Native Indians. Was unbeknownst to everybody.
Man, he say that so fast. The Negro to the Indians. You know what I'm talking about, man? He real slick. He real slick, and how he done included the natives into the Israelite heritage.
That's that crafty counsel. Read on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against God's people, who are the Israelites, the so-called Native American Indians, the so-called Hispanics. Y'all are God's people.
What covenant did they break? They wasn't the ones that fled into Africa to do the Egyptian religion breaking covenant. That man, the covenant was broken during the Babylonian wars with the tribe of Judah, the last remaining heritage, our last piece of land, and how this is false, and how what they saying is false. And you Israelites got to wake up. That's in these camps, that's affiliating with these groups. Man, I know you love a good ceremony and it sound good when they get to playing and jugging and you know, making fun and all of those stuff. But it's time to get serious now. And this is just pure lies right here. Pure lies. Look, if you go to 2 Chronicles 30, this is in 716 BC. Now we see plain as day. Look. This is in 716 BC. This is when King Hezekiah come on. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel. Now, how could he send to all Israel and Judah? Those are two different, distinct groups and so forth. Look, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh. Look, wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel, and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem, to keep the Passover in the 2nd month, for they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written. Look, so they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan. Now let's look and see what Beersheba mean to Dan is. This is killing the 10 lost tribes. And then we see King Hezekiah is in 716 BC on down. So the Israelites is still there. And he gonna even tell you, and I'm gonna show you this. But first we need to see. You know, man, they just made this false history today. False history was made today. But we need to see where Beersheba to Dan is. Look, see that they go Beersheba. Man, he wrote a letter. This is Judah's inheritance, where the king was. Look, and then he sent it all the way. Look, all the way to Dan. And all these tribes, you're gonna see their name: Ashkar, Naphtali, Asher. Look, but he sent the letter all the way to Dan. All the way to Dan. Now, we on this side of the Jordan. So, you know, Beersheba right there. So how in the world did the 10 lost tribe lie creep in? It's going to have to have crept in by our enemies after we was driven out the land and destroyed. And then our heritage fell to them. I'm going to show who our heritage fell to. It's easy to understand. I show this in all the videos. All right, look, but you see King Hezekiah sent the letter from Beersheba even to Dan. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are what? Escaped out of the hands of the kings of Assyria. That's a S. So, a couple of kings of Assyrians and then come through to try to, get the folks. And then they did. They got the Israelites that was protecting the Egyptian religion. That's why these folks come to the Passover, because the ones that was protecting the Egyptian religion was taken away. And that's going to be the army. And then we're going to look and see about this. We got to destroy that 10 lost tribe myth. It's got to be destroyed. It's got to be destroyed, in the Israelite Brotherhood been destroyed. Now I'm empowering you other Israelites to step on those Israelites that push that 10 lost tribe a lie. Now look here, let's what I say, all right. 7:15. Let's go see whether Assyrians needed the fighters. Got to get them up off the land. How in the world the fighters worshiping the Egyptian religion gonna stay on the promised land? That wasn't gonna work. We got a real Yah. We got a real creator. We got a real creator, and you see his works by what happened to us throughout history. And it was prophesied before it happened. Almighty Yah's presence was here on earth with us till we drove him away. And then he let our enemies devour us, which is executing the curses. But look, if you go to First Chronicles 5:18, look, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men able to bear a buckler and sword, to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, 440,730 that went out to war. All right, them the ones the Syrians gonna need. They was a robbing nation. I explained. I got plenty of videos about them and how they robbed and wanted us to rob with them. Look, in the Yah, look, this is First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26. And the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Talcomnaz. You seen that S doing King Hezekiah, saying that we escaped the kings of Assyria. Well, these are the kings that snatched the northern kingdom fighters that was protecting the Egyptian religion. Look, and the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Talcomnaz, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Hala harbor and Har, and to the river Gonzon to this day. Now, back in the days, if you didn't go fight with an army after they kidnapped you, they putting you to death. There's no question about that, and how the northern kingdom was already associated with the Assyrians. And I explained that the Assyrian captivity is never the truth, what our enemies been telling. But you see how the Assyrians took the 3 tribes, meaning everybody else was there. And then the Assyrians would be chased and would be destroyed in 612 BC by Ashkenazi, by order of Almighty Yah. Prophet Nahum caused the destruction, tell you what was going to happen. And then that happened in 612 BC. So the Syrians stayed around for a long time. And ain't no Israelites going to be taken to no Assyria and then don't know the way back when the tribe of Ephraim did trade with the Assyrians, carrying oil into Egypt for them. So, that 10 lost tribe stuff is a lie. It's a lie. And then I'm destroying it again. So then you Israelites got the power now to destroy the Israelites that teach that stuff, and how you can stay. All right, wasn't no 10 lost tribes. Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 30. It show you it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So how that Nathaniel dude is misleading his peoples because it's profitable. It's profitable. But look, you see that we escaped the Syrians, and then as you read down, look, as you read down and you get to verse 10, so the post went from the city to city throughout the country of Ephraim, Manasseh, even unto Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. You know that's going to be right up in here. That's going to be right up in here. They mocked them. See, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Zebulun, you know what I'm saying? They mocked them, and then as you read down, you know what I'm saying, you keep on reading. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and come to Jerusalem. That's going to be them Israelites, man, up in this little area. You know what I'm saying? Up in this little area right here. Asher, Zebulun, and Manasseh, you know what I'm saying? They humbled themselves and come to the Passover. And this is after the Assyrian captivity. So Israelites are still at home. It's just later on, the Almighty Yah is not working through none of its leaders and none of its peoples because they was constantly on Egyptian religion. Constantly on Egyptian religion and wouldn't let it go. So, you know, we was driven out the land. But you see, Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun them still there. And then as you read over here, look, this is 2 Chronicles 30, verse 18. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Ashkar and Zebulun had cleansed themselves, yet they did eat the Passover, otherwise that it was written. So then that's going to be them Israelites, man, from right up in here. Ashkar, look, you see Ashkar right there? Manasseh, Zebulun, and Ashkar, all of them came to the Passover. And look, later on, King Hezekiah, great-grandson, would mention the tribe of Naphtali, and I think Asher and a few other ones, and then in Ishkar, and show you that they came, you know what I'm saying, to the Passover dinner under King Hezekiah, King Josiah, and that's King Hezekiah's great-grandson. So all this is killing that 10 lost tribe myth, showing that the Israelites was at home. Let's go look, up at King Josiah. He was a prophecy king that was prophesied to get rid of the Egyptian religion. And he did it. He did it. Man, you go to 2 Chronicles 34. All this is killing that 10 lost tribe mess. Man, we some stiff-necked peoples. Real stiff-necked. Real stiff-necked, all right? Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 130 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father. See, that's why the southern kingdom stayed in power, and the northern kingdom was getting destroyed and beat up, and that how after the Egyptians tricked Jehoiakim them into worshiping the Egyptian religion, that's King Josiah's them son, that how we was driven off the land, everybody driven into Africa besides those that was captured like a tenth. And then when they come back, they was destroyed so fast that it left hardly no trace in history. And all this, just this history right here, men defeats the 10 lost tribe myth and show that them folks is not telling the truth. Look, so after the Assyrian captivity, and then next the Babylonians, we know that the Babylonians didn't take nothing but a little bitty people out the promised land, a little small percentage. So where was all the other Israelites that was, you know, didn't get taken during the Assyrian times? Where was they at? There's no mention of them in history. None. From after the Assyrian times on down, there's no mention of them. And the enemies wasn't going to mention them. See, they slick. Look, Josiah was 8 years old. I read that, and then, you know, he was tearing up the whole enemy's false worship in the promised land, got rid of all of it, the Egyptian religion. And so did he, so when you get down to verse 6, so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simon. Look, Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattocks round about. So them Israelites are still home, still at home. And when he had broken down the altars in the groves and had beaten down the graven images into powder and cut down all the idols, look, throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. So the Israelites still home under King Josiah. Let's go look and see when King Josiah was around. I'm talking about this is simple stuff, and this should be defeating the camps with that 10 lost tribe stuff, because the Israelites are still at home after the Assyrian captivity. They have to count on that. Look, it's number 16. 640 BC. This is about the time that the Assyrians finna get destroyed in 612 BC. Everybody can look that up. So look, the Assyrian captivity is way long past. And then how Israelites are still in the land under all these leaders. You know what I'm saying? So, the camp's been telling lies. And they've been deceiving Israelites. You know what I'm saying? They've been deceiving Israelites with false history, because the Israelites are still at home under King Hezekiah and King Josiah. Now, why would the camps tell lies? Because it's profitable, and the government do not come after the leaders, and they get a pass to walk around in captivity. Rich and famous, unmolested by the enemies. The same with Farrakhan. How Farrakhan, Israelites be thinking Farrakhan powerful and got power and stuff, and how he protected. Man, the enemy is protecting Farrakhan. Farrakhan take more Israelites out their heritage than anybody on that I know of. He take Israelites out their heritage by the millions. He the number one destroyer of Israelites. Got them worshiping Edomite gods and Edomite religions and so forth. All right, Israelites, man, you see, I just done defeated, man, the 10 lost tribe stuff again, and it's easy. It's easy. All you got to do is do what I just did and how I just showed you. All right, man, I want to look up this word iniquity, because, man, I got this little history right here, that how, man, we Israelites are so stiff-necked, you know what I'm saying, and that how Almighty Yah gave us the covenant, and then we got a creator of the universe that come out the heavens. They gave us a law. Like nobody else. Meaning nobody else get this law. Like even our forefathers didn't get the law that Almighty Yah gave us, and how we abandoned it for Egyptian religion, which caused our enslavement. It's plain to understand that. And then the curses is outlined that what would happen if you broke the covenant. And we know the ship and yoke is a must. That is no escaping, men, the ship and the yoke. And that's part of the punishment, was to be taken to a strange land like Egypt. And I prove over and over how, man, America got Egyptian medical practices and so forth come from Egypt, and how we are being destroyed right now from the Egyptian medical practices that this country uphold by its doctors and so forth. Oh man, we're being destroyed all kind of ways. That's like this, Israelites. How about our enemies are super smart, but it's all in the will of Almighty Yah with getting rid of that element that don't worship him. Is when our enemies try to keep us financially destroyed and don't have no businesses, don't have no financial support among ourselves in our community, so that the day will come that when they force them injections and all them shots on you, that you got to have a shot in order to go to work and keep your roof over your head and enjoy the luxuries that you got, that they've been waiting for this day. And that's why come they kept us disorganized, and then with the civil rights, because they knew that they was eventually gonna get to this stage where they could say, well, you can't come to work unless you got a shot. Man, unless you get the vaccination, you can't come to work. Now, how many Israelites cannot go to work because of that? So then they destroying us. They know what they doing, and that was one of the reasons to keep us financial disfranchised, where we Israelites couldn't come together and and have our own stores and our own community to support our community, is because now our enemies can say, well, you can't do this, you can't come into this job unless you got this or that. And knowing that your whole life been built men around that job, so then you gone on up in there and lights out is what they plan. They plan on cutting the whole population down. 8 billion peoples they want to knock off the earth. Now, us Israelites got the power to stop this. We got the power to stop this, like I explained in plenty of videos, even showing the folks who responsible for a lot of mischief on the earth, that how that they plans cannot come to pass if Almighty Yah made the prophecy in the book, and then how it's going to come to pass. But how did our enemies know that if the Israelites are not worshiping Yah, then it's a chance that they evil plans can come to pass? That's like our enemies trying to get up off the earth and seed the planet, seed the galaxy with wickedness, with Amorite culture and so forth. And that's the whole plan. The Almighty Yah set his purpose in this galaxy, and we supposed to reign supreme, the Israelites, with his law. But the serpent been defeating us and so forth. But look at this right here. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgment which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. The Elohim our Yah made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Elohim made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us. We are all of us here alive this day. Almighty Yah made a covenant with them. The entity come out the heavens, come down to the earth, and made a covenant with us and gave us a law like no other, where it was fair and justice. But now how we didn't fulfill the covenant in destroying our enemies with the felon angelic beings culture. Y'all sons cultures, y'all sons that went rebellion, that went into the daughters of man, and then how did they create mischief on the earth, and then how did they law in the way it governed is supreme. And that's that Babylonian tradition and customs and law that we have here in America. It's administrative structure come from Babylon, the fallen angelic beings. And that's why it's no justice. But Almighty Yah gave us justice in the covenant, and we didn't keep it. Look, the Elohim talked with you face to face in the mount of the midst of the fire. I stood between the Elohim and you at that time to show you the word of the Elohim, for ye were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Elohim that Yah, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. And that's what they did with the Jesus thing, or the Yawashi, saying that he's Yah's son in representation on earth, the Trinity and all that old madness and evilness and so forth, and how that's breaking covenant. That's breaking covenant and keeping the covenant broken, keeping y'all wrath on us. Them folks in them camps be believing in demigods. Look, thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Elohim, thy Yah, am a jealous Yah, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Now, let's look what iniquity means, because, man, that's what's been happening to us for all these generations. Look, iniquity comes from the Latin word prefix not. Not equals, which means equal or just. So iniquity literally means not just. Iniquity can also be used to say that something lacks moral or spiritual principles. That's us right there. You know what I'm saying? Moral, spiritual principles. Man, let's see what old Webster got. You know what I'm saying? He always throwing up some meanings. Let's see what his meaning is. Yeah. So inequality, man, I was reading one where it says that, man, it is moral bad principles handed down generation, men to generation too. Look, a wicked act or thing, sin. Man, corruption, debauchery, depravity, immortality, inquitness. Yeah, man, it's awful. And then that's how we've been living in iniquity, sin, wickedness passed down from generation to generation. So iniquity gonna mean sin, immorality, and wickedness being passed down generation to generation, just like Almighty Yah said. And then that's what happened to us. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them, for I, the Elohim, thy Yah, am a jealous Yah, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto them, unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Elohim thy Yah in vain, for the Elohim will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keep the same. Man, we didn't do none of this. We didn't do none of this. And then how we was wicked, and then how we was driven off the land during the Babylonian wars. I show over and over how we broke the covenant for Egyptian religion and took off into Africa. All right, Israelites, I just want to show, man, ain't no 10 lost tribes, and how that those camps is false. Teaching that 10 lost tribe doctrine to the Israelites in this day and time. And Israelites are real foolish to believe in the 10 lost tribe doctrine when you see plain as day is no way to get around that the Israelites were at home after the so-called Assyrian captivity, and how that they were still in the land. As I just showed, King Hezekiah had everybody at home, and how he wrote a letter throughout our whole territories from Beersheba all the way to Dan, and then how his great-grandson even had the Israelites at home because he invited them to the Passover and then cleaned up the land from Egyptian religion, which would make the Egyptians come out and kill him. King Josiah. All right, Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood, and I pray everybody is well, and much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family. And I'm man, we got to start communicating. Trying to, get the work organized and so forth. Why have a time, to be on social media, but it's been rough. But to you Israelites, men that see me and know me, this is what I do. This is what I do, and you got to wake up. You got to wake up, and when you wake up and start to understand this history, man, you're Israelite Brotherhood member. All right, shalom to the Israelite Brotherhood family. I pray all is well, and you Israelites stay praying to Almighty Yah that you don't catch none of these diseases and viruses that our enemies got floating around that's going to have to take the Israelites, some of them, out, because they cannot go back to the promised land to worship demigod worship. And then that's how this dude right here is taking them Israelites down. man, he taking them down. He taking them down through there because he ain't teaching them no truth. He teaching them Christianity, and I explain. Let me see if I got enough time to get this in. How all them nations of peoples moved in during the Persian time and before. But look, here's our enemies that will get our heritage moving in 722 BC. And these are the people that'll be there during Jesus' time that he wouldn't know. Many of these folks been there 700 years before Jesus was born. So how in the world Jesus gonna know about them and know that they wasn't Israelites? He didn't know, as I explained about the Gabonites getting into our history. But look, 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24. This is in 722 BC. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuddle and from Abel and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, that's 5 nations right there being set in the promised land in 722 BC. And they was Amorites. All them Amorites. All them Amorites. All them Amorites. Man, Hamath was in Syria. That's an Amorite being controlled land. So we see 5 nations of peoples being set up in 722 BC. All right. Now let's go to the man, it's gonna be, I believe it's gonna be Nehemiah. No, that's gonna be Ezra. But because the prophet Ezra was at them devils and he hated them. He hated them with a passion. He hated them with a passion, and they was trying to get him. You know what I'm saying? Now that probably was prophet Nehemiah. They hated prophet Nehemiah worse than prophet Ezra. All right, but if you go to, let me see, what's that gonna be? Nehemiah 9, I think. All them folks moved into our land. And about 12 nations of peoples moved in. And then, them people would be there 300 years before, 400 years before Jesus, 500 years before Jesus. One group of people was there 500 years before Jesus was born. And then another group, man, was there 400 years before Jesus was born. About 12 nations of peoples. And here it is. 12 nations of peoples was there, man, before Jesus was born. And then the Greeks took Egypt over in 332 BC. Nothing but white folks and nothing but non-pigmented folks in Egypt. And then that's why come they say Egypt belonged to the European sphere of influence. It's because the Greeks took it over and the Europeans been had it, been under their control for a long time. And then how when Jesus went to Egypt, and whenever he was there, Herod was already dead. Herod was dead in 4 BC, 4 years before Jesus was born. So Herod couldn't have chased him into Egypt. Man, let's type that in. Man, the dead tell you, look, Herod's death. Look, Herod's, yeah. King Herod death, look. Herod the Great. And we in that sucker die. Man, he passed around about 4 BC, look. 4 years before Jesus was born. You know what I'm saying? So, dude was already dead, man, before the Jesus dude was born. You see what I'm saying? So, that's that there killed the whole New Testament history and so forth. But look how these 12 nations was there. So we know when Jesus went there, after the Greeks and them been there for 300 years, and then how it would have been hard for Jesus, man, to be black. It would have been hard for Jesus to be a black person during Roman times, going to Egypt when the Egyptians were Caucasians from Greek times on down. They ran the real pygmy folks into the interior of Africa a long time ago when the Israelites were getting chased out the land, and how after the Persians lost the land, it was over with. You know, the Syrians tried to keep it in under the pygmy people's control, but they couldn't. You know what I'm saying? But look, these 12 nations, look, moving into the land. And we couldn't do nothing about it. Now where did that verse go? This camera about to go off. Alright, look. Rum, this is Ezra 4. Then wrote Rum, the counselor, and Shimi had described to the rest of their companions, the Danites, look, the Danites, the Arshifites, the Tipolites, the Arphixites, the Archivites, the Babylonians, the Shushanites, the Devites, all them folks that moved into the promised land. Thousands of them. Thousands of them. And this is 500 years before Jesus was born. So, you know, with them other folks from 722, them 5 nations, plus these 12 nations right there, then by the time Jesus was born, he wouldn't know who an Israelite was. And then looking for a lost tribe, man, that never happened. Man, that destroyed the whole New Testament in its beliefs. You know what I'm saying? All right, Israelites. Man, I just had to get this in again, man. Got to keep going over this stupid history, that 10 lost tribes stupid history, because Israelites be believing in that junk, and then they, you know, keeping, you know, from worshiping Almighty Yah and staying blind, keeping us at a disadvantage, us that worship Almighty Yah, because we all tied in it together. But if we got the vast majority of our peoples, man, wicked and not, you know, want to worship Yah, then, man, our recovery and redemption is being paused, slow coming. Almighty Yah want to save us, and He want us to be saved. But if you worshiping demigods, Jesus, and all that other stuff that our enemies done cooked up since the covenant was broken, then, man, you holding our redemption up and you causing us pain. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.